So, put you there. It says we're live. Yeah, it's working. Okay, so you just let me know whenever I have it in the very beginning of the video. We're going to, if anyone's joining us or watching this, rewatching it, watch a really quick 5-minute near-death experience testimony. And this experiencer talks about levels in heaven, which is something that Brittney shared on Healing Element. She's shared here and with me many times. It fascinates me. And so I'm curious to hear all about from her, from Britt. What, is there any similarities? Is there any differences? Did this ring a bell? Is this similar? So let's go ahead. Whenever you're ready, and we'll play.
So are you going to play it on your screen, or
that would make sense?
Are you going to show it? Yeah. And I have mine. Like,
I'll just
I can either watch it through yours.
Yeah, I guess I'll just do mine. I'll just push my audio. That makes sense. So it won't be like an echo. Okay, and then I figured just to be safe, I'm not sure I won't show the thing, even though it's just like background. But oh, we have a lovely commercial. Boop 360. More ads. There we go. Okay.
On December 22nd, 1986, I felt as though I was dying, really dying. I lay down and soon was flooded by the most intensely bright white light filled with the most awesome power and love in the universe. In the light I heard the thunderous fluttering winds and the most beautiful sounds of angels' voices singing louder than the thunderous winds. My body was becoming paralyzed with the power of the light. The love was overwhelming to me. I was terrified of losing control over my bodily functions, desire to be in control, desire itself, movement, thought, everything human was dying in this light. When it swallowed me whole, an explosion of ecstasy and love started from my belly and expanded into the light itself. Soon, I became the light and became innocence, love, ecstasy, peace, power and beauty, and wisdom of the light. Like a mother carrying a child in her arms, the light carried me upwards. And
I wonder if this is a female or a male.
The light itself spoke to me, and
I don't know.
The power that created the whole universe.
Are you going to pause it and we talk, or are we going to watch it the whole way through?
I think that's a good idea. It's a pause it. Thank you for always keeping me on point, dude, and structured. Because I did have a question.
I have no idea.
You do. I'm like, oh, woo-hoo out there. No, I love it. But I had a question about something they said. They were talking about, getting to feel that lack of control. I know that you talked about, which we should like touch upon because I think it's fascinating, that in the beginning when you were kind of going in between realms, I think is when you felt a little bit of pain, like the physical pain, like getting back or into your body. What do you think that has anything to do, or did you feel any thing that they were saying similar to like a lack of control of your body because you just have to kind of surrender? Like, I thought that was interesting that they said that.
So I would say the only lack of control I had was, I know that I fell on the floor. But that was the only like lack of control because I was trying to get to the bed and I knew.
But what about when you were there? Like, in your experience, did you feel any kind of, I guess you call it conscious lack of control, but you know how it's so hard to conceptualize, but we're mindful and conscious of we're moving this way. He or she was talking about that it was hard for them to get used to this surrendering to this love and joy because they were in that mindset of like control. You know what I mean? So I was just wondering if you had any kind of transition like that.
Not at all. I mean, like you said, maybe a little bit of the physical because there was a pain at the beginning, just very brief at the very beginning. But I would say I was very, like, right away, I knew where I was and happy about it and overjoyed with the feeling. And maybe it's because of my attempt where I knew I was attempting myself, and he said that he was just laying down and he didn't feel good. So maybe that has something to do with the difference.
That's very, very perception. That's very smart and on point of you, because yes, you had a conscious knowing that you were trying to do that. This person just laid down for a nap. I get what you're saying. So it could be a shock, right, to them more so than you or whatnot. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like maybe he or she was because they said they were laying down and they felt this overwhelming feeling that they were going to die.
Yeah.
Maybe they were scared or didn't want to, and that was that fight where I didn't have that at all. So maybe there's that difference there.
Yeah. So you feel like you just had said that you just knew so you felt an instant surrender. You just like surrendered. Yeah, I love
for
that.
sure.
Just go. Yeah, that is awesome. Oh my gosh, the elation that you must feel like at that moment to just poof, melt into it or whatnot.
And I'm very how do I say? I guess not amazed, but um I guess maybe it is the right word. Amazed of the way that they are describing this so far.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
almost
right?
like they're writing a book. Very, what am I trying to say?
Is it similar to yours, like eloquently put? Like they're putting these words that,
Oh
ring
no,
some.
like way better than me.
No, but that's what I mean. They're like putting your feelings into words, right? That knowing that experience into, I know I'm so like that. I wish that I could express that more because I feel like the things that I feel inside, I'll hear someone else describe it. Even you, dude, so many times. And I'm like, yes, that's target. That's on the bullseye. So you're
Yeah.
definitely some resonance with it. Like some.
Well, that and like I said, it almost sounds like a book almost. Like it's not like it's too perfect, but like
Yeah.
they put a lot of thought into the words and that they've really thought over their experience. And I mean,
100%.
it happened. I mean, it says right here on my screen, 4:15 on December 22nd, 1986.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. Yeah. And I love that
So,
memories that stays clear. And you know what? On that note, it is only a 5-minute testimony. We're only a minute in, and it is descriptive. I totally agree.
yeah. So I think they have put a lot of time and a lot of effort in really trying to explain something that's not very explainable.
Yeah, and then the way that you guys say it sometimes is like it's not sequential or whatever. It's like not linear time as far as like one thing happens exactly before the other.
Yeah.
Okay, it's so hard to wrap your mind around, but it's so fascinating to me. I also wanted to ask about the whole, timeless thing. It's interesting because the entire experience, the people always ask, oh, how long did you feel that you were there? Do you think that some people, variations are different because, maybe for your particular experience or someone else's, it would be more beneficial to them to have a life review. And so the portions were just kind of segmented off. I think that there's a debate right now where people are saying, the afterlife is everything that you make it, even if it's horrible, like in your brain. I think that there is some sort of common denominators, maybe I'm trying to say, not everything when we're all different people, but I think that there is common denominators that maybe if, I had one and didn't have a life review or I didn't have the tunnel, perhaps next time I would or whatnot. Or maybe it's just the way that we are able to put it into words, right?
So the way that I look at it, and this is just my opinion, I have no fact, you know what I mean? Like I have no facts or anything to base it on, but the way that I think about it is like with me, I wasn't supposed to die on that day. Now, was I supposed to have that? Was it written in stone that I was going to do that? I don't know. Did it happen and then I had the experience? I don't know. But for whatever reason, maybe I caused it because I did something, you know what I mean? It was
Yeah,
like free
you
will.
like intervened. You intervened for your own.
Yeah.
Interesting. So do you think about that often as far as like what those maybe are? Many of them near death experiences are kind of like oopsie, and that's why the people say, hey, you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah. Well, I wonder because, and then I think, well, that maybe that's why we're shown different things because
Yeah.
you try to alter something that wasn't supposed to happen and you're shown whatever you're supposed to know to help you get back on that timeline.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful. And I love that there's just like these workers, or seems to be these light beings over there that are like caretakers, nurses, so what have you, you know, psychologists that are there as spiritual grief counselors to be like, hey, this is what's up. Take a look at this. Let me show you the levels. You know, that's just, it's awesome level of even explanation of love, which can't be defined in words, but it's so cool. You know what I mean? Just, you're like, yes, the soul sister, like, you know what I'm going through or whatnot when you're over there.
Yeah,
Like
and I
that.
don't know if it's like that movie Soul where you have a specific job and like that's what you do and you specifically take care of the kiddos or you specifically walk people through, you know, their oopsies or whatever.
I imagine so. I imagine like if you wanted to do something for advocating, like helping, intervening as an angel down on earth, finding missing people, you could do that. I've really imagined that it's something like that. We have that muse inside of us, that creative drive, that urge. I think obviously that's, magnified up
Well,
there.
and I think that's why we all have our purpose here, and that's what we're trying to learn and grow into is we do have a specific job, and that's what we are trying to get to. Is that's kind of how I took it through my near death experience because they said you're needed here on this level, on level 3, but first you have to finish what you started down on earth first. So to
So makes
me, thinking through it all, that is how I kind of took it.
That makes sense. Mochi always does this. You know, swear to God, this guy is like spoiled. He goes and he sits on my laptop and stuff, and he's all like looking for people, and he's trying to get me to open the door. But so I also wanted to say that is a great thing that you bring up again, because I've thought about that so many times. I even watched it twice again. Remember I told you I was like watching Soul when it first came out, hundreds some
Yeah,
odd
I
days.
watched it again too.
Oh, I loved it. So that is so intriguing because of all the near-death experience testimonies, especially for sure in the last like 2 years since COVID that I've watched. I find it so interesting. A lady the other day said about, you know how the soul, it kind of shows this 2D or 3D realm, and there's like a little escalator that's going up that's kind of clear-ish light. Some
Yeah.
lady explained that. She said that she thinks that's where that whole tale, I think it's in the Bible, of Jacob's ladder comes in. He had a dream, because she says that literally when she was going through, the light being said, oh, here, there you go. And she's like, where am I? You know, and she's like, there you go, just take that. And she said it literally looked like a mall escalator, but she said the only difference is that it was flat. And she said she thought she had imagined that for so many years, because you know how like in America we just have the staircase looking escalators. Well, she went to,
Right.
I don't know, Norway or something like that to go skiing. And she said that was her biggest sign of all, is that she saw that. And then the Norwegian people said, oh yeah, we've never even had step ones. We've been building like that forever. And so she just said it clicked in her. And so it wasn't so much, that it was the resonance of feeling that she's like, okay, wait, if there's things of construct here that are really physical, and I really did see that. And she said she saw tons of souls kind of just like that movie, different people that either looking like, oh, surprised, what are you doing here? Like things like
Oh,
that, like just a
wow.
whole bunch. Yeah, and I thought that was cool. So I often wonder, do you think that the producers took a lot of time and went around, obviously, and collected different near-death experience or stories? Because it really hits a lot of the marks that you talk about, that other people talk about.
Well, either that or the creator, the person who wanted to do it originally, and maybe they sold the story or whatever it was. Maybe they were a near-death experiencer themselves
Very
and
true.
had done a lot of like background,
Yeah,
information with other stories too. So
yeah,
I
like
always
we do,
wondered
because
if
we're
maybe one of
fascinated.
them.
Yeah, that's very true. You know who ironically had a near-death experience, and I think that a lot of the themes tie in, is George Lucas, who made Star Wars. Like, he's all talking about the light and the dark force and like this good entity to try to help the galaxy. And it's interesting because this book my husband had, and it was telling about his he died as a near-death experience. He had the same thing, like very similar to common denominators that happen. So I think that he was talking about that opened him up spiritually, and he went over to meet the Buddhist monks and all that. So I find it intriguing to me, because I often find about like the movie Avatar, or What Dreams May Come, certain things like that, even The Sixth Sense. I find that has had to have been a personal, the screenwriter or producer, something had a knowing, like an experience like me or you did in some sort of fashion, that made them want to share this with others, so that other people go, you know, I'm not the only one or whatever.
Right.
Okay, you know what? I'll play the more of the video. Let's take a listen to what is going on in this one. St. Jude commercial. I don't know what it is in my YouTube. I don't have the like fancy red one, but I get a commercial every time.
I ever felt on Earth was filled with countless paradise planets. I looked down at my body and it was made of white light, but still had a luminous human form. I spent some time there, but was taken higher, where the joy and glory of God was crushing me to the point that I could not bear the ecstasy any longer. Thus I exploded into a new light and glory.
That's a good question. I know that you talk about each level is more aesthetically pleasing and beautiful. Did you feel more pleasant as you rised in those 3 levels?
That's
a good question. I've never thought to ask you that.
It is, and I haven't really thought about that. I would say maybe
intriguing, right?
Yeah, it's hard. I'd have to think about it because right off the top of my head, I would say yes, but I was excited to see like what was next kind of a thing. Like it was like a excited
anticipation,
something's coming up kind of a thing.
Totally brainstorm on that though, and I'll ask you like next week or whenever, because that is intriguing. That's the first time I heard someone say that they felt more euphoric as they kind of raised up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll think about that because I know I was excited each level, but I'll have to think about like all of it.
Yeah, that's intriguing. Okay.
Love, ecstasy, peace, power, and wisdom 1,000,000 times brighter than the first heaven was. My new body was brighter and clearer and could somehow withstand this exponential increase in glory. I was told this second heaven was filled with countless paradise planets. In each ascending heaven, the glory of these qualities in the light multiplied another 1,000,000 times. It is
that sounds like someone's testimony that I have heard. Oh my God, I got the chills. Okay.
Conceivable how bright and beautiful life is in these heavens to any mind alone, separate from this light. I was taken to the point where the ecstasy and love were so overwhelming, I could barely stand the levels of cosmic energy and ecstasy any longer. I exploded into a new light 1,000,000 times brighter than the second heaven, thus the third heaven. Here, my body was still human, but so much white light shining from it I could not believe my eyes. I could see for millions of miles with perfect clarity. The sounds of the angels singing was so beautiful and thunderous and glorious above me, I felt as if their sound vibrations were filled with wisdom.
Okay, this is a good point for me to ask you the question. I know that we talked about the peripheral vision or 360 or whatever you want to call it, right? The way that you're able to either speak but not speak, see but not see because you don't have eyeballs. Was it like clearer, more clarity? The acute way that you're getting the information. Like I noticed that he said he was, experiencing clearer vision than he's ever had on Earth. Was it something like that where you're like, wow, it's not just bright, I am understanding and seeing everything so precisely? Was it something like that?
Yeah, okay. I would say so. And I wanted to say too, I find it interesting the way that he's explaining his body throughout each level so far.
Yes.
Would be the way that I would explain the entity that was telling me the levels.
Okay. That entity would get brighter as that entity went up, right? It was like
remember it was kind of like, well, the first level it was just a voice.
Okay.
The second level it was like a voice, but I knew it was kind of human. And then the third level it was this really bright light, and it didn't have, I knew then it wasn't really human, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it didn't have a silhouette like of a person.
Yeah, it was just light.
Intriguing. You know what? On that note, your family that you saw, your grandma in particular, were they the same type of hue as that light being? Were they that, or were they actually just colors that are kind of solid? Were they illuminated as well?
I would say that's hard to know because it was so illuminated in the house that maybe it was them being illuminated too. But it could have been just a really immense light in the house. Because at first that's what I thought it was. But now that we're talking about it, now maybe it was them being illuminated.
Interesting. But it's interesting because I know that there's so much talk about angels and higher ascended beings being more of, light, real, light than people who've maybe just crossed over, things like that. So it's interesting that a lot of people seem to say that their relatives and ancestors are in, looking like they're 30 or 40, and they're in, maybe their best hairdo and something. They seem to have more ties to their earthly realm, at least for identity, than the angel type of light beings. But someone was saying something intriguing. I wanted to ask you this. Do you think it's because when you transition from one realm to another, you kind of like a baby at a pacifier, you want to keep on to a couple things, and most importantly, to show the other people who are coming over and crossing through, hi, it's me, you can recognize me, to kind of get them used to it, because it's such a transition between kind of having our memory washed and then getting over to
I think it could be that.
yeah. It's like I always feel as if someone was saying, the same person was talking about that they feel as if people, get used to being on the other side, they then, don't need, like, they mentioned golfing. Like, my dad was a big golfer. He, no doubt, if you could, he's doing that. So she said after a while, their entire existence, they become like not disassociated with the people, of course, on the earth, but of any kind of hobbies, and their hobby then becomes healing and helping in their little angel jobs. And that kind of ring true to me. I'm like, well, that sounds as if it could be true, because I think that's when we're like, I don't know, that's when we're happiest, I think, is when we're serving or, doing something for a purpose. So I'm wondering, I'm assuming it's just at a raised level on the other side. It's interesting.
Well, and maybe it's me wanting to keep normality, but
Yeah.
maybe there's like a home on the other side, and that's your like familial home where like all your ancestors reside, and that's that big mansion,
Yeah.
and
Like a
that's where
sweat
you
lodge. Yeah, they
yeah
have traditions, in Indian,
yeah,
how that
and that's where you can go back and like maybe when there's a death in the family, everybody goes back for say a meal, or
yeah.
maybe there's some kind of reunion, or
Say,
maybe once a
reunion.
week or once a month or something you go, but then other times you're on your different paths
Yeah.
doing something else. Maybe it's
Yeah.
something like that, because um like he said, on the second level, it's many worlds, or it's
Say,
many
so
heavens.
touch upon that, because that's just fascinating. We always talk about different, maybe parallel universes, and maybe this Earth right now, me and Brittney have been growing up as sisters. Do you think that is those other worlds, or is it literally like maybe the light beings I saw, different planets? I want you to talk about whatever
Well,
you feel about that,
so
what you
I don't
saw.
know what he or she was talking about.
No.
And I only saw my home, my, that
Cool.
mansion with my family in it. But if that's what I saw on level 2, I can only imagine perhaps maybe everybody has that on level 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then, that person said that there's many levels. Maybe those many levels are just your own little heaven or your
Little
own
ocean,
home.
heaven. Yeah,
And
you
you're,
can
yeah,
create
and it's, where they get the word or that verbiage. Um, what is it? It's something
like a
about many
multiverse.
mansions or something.
Yeah, amen.
Um,
Amen. Yeah, my
maybe
house has
that's
many.
what it, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Maybe that's where that comes in, and the different ones isn't different realms. Maybe it
Yes.
is, but maybe it is also different familial homes. Um, and that's where you know what I mean? And maybe
Girl,
that's
you
me
need
just
to
trying to
teach,
keep,
but like you need to teach
huh?
theology. That makes so much sense by saying that one phrase. It's 333 right now, by the way. That's an angel number, and that's like the whole consciousness. Look,
Here
it is
433.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Ditch that one. Ditch it. That's hella funny. But no, I cannot believe that you bring up the most intriguing things that I will think forever on. You just said the most, I mean, it sounds so simple now, but my God, you said that phrase, that scripture, I think, is like, my home has met my heaven has many mansions, or there's many homes or mansions, something like that, you know, that. And it's interesting because maybe that literally is talking about the levels, dimensions, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I always thought when I was a kid, it meant something like everyone will be accepted. My house has many rooms or mansions, or, you know what I mean? But it gave me the chills when you said that maybe levels. He's just saying, yeah, I have many realms for different type of whatever it is, you know, that you go into those levels to do. That's interesting. Oh my gosh, that's interesting. Sorry, I'm eating tomatoes. That gave me chills. Okay, but we're almost done.
Tomatoes, that sounds good.
Another commercial. I'm going to talk about that more, though, about the table, the dining room table.
Sound vibrations were actually creating life and myriad possibilities in the universe. But angelic sounds were not just singing for the fun of it alone, but were creating with sounds. I sped through this third heaven and was taken into the fourth, where the glory of God was so bright. I felt any being here was beyond even inconceivable glory. My body was so bright here that it had little remains of the human form. The glory was so bright and filled with these qualities, I told God I can't take any more. You are far greater than I ever imagined God to be by inconceivable measure. Whole galaxies of energy could be created by this light. I asked God to not take me higher, but God did. At this point, because the glory was so bright and beyond my abilities, this amazing quality, descending down from the even brighter light above me. I do not think there are any planets up here, but perhaps beings live inside of stars here. The grace of God, the most beautiful and poetic quality of God, came down like millions of leaves, falling in harmony, and stilled and purified like the ecstasy and glory to the point that I could bear it. I could write a whole chapter on grace and not do it justice. Then I was taken into the fifth heaven. My body was now like a giant sun. It had no...
Okay, girl, really quick. I noticed how in the beginning you said that this sounded like they were writing a book. I'm just going to disclose, we did not know whoever put this out. That's why we're kind of doing it. What if someone did take this straight up out of a book? Because he just mentioned, or she just mentioned, I could write a whole chapter. I just thought I'd say that.
I guess, yeah.
And I also wanted to say about my science tie-in. I'm always bringing that up, but okay, so he or she mentioned that there was the level that was singing and vibrations that were able to create things. Well, I am a big person who, way before Ancient Aliens, like for 15 years, I've been watching documentaries on how I feel that is how that, you know, these big stones, maybe Easter Island, maybe the you know, Greek temples, Egypt, I think that they had some sort of, even the, you know, England, excuse me, the thing that is in the circle, I'm drawing a blank, that Merlin was supposed to go to. It's like
Stonehenge.
Yes, thank you. So Stonehenge, I feel like things like that, honestly, there could have been ancient wisdom that used sound technique to move and create things. I really do think that that is a possibility on this, you know, physical. So I think that that is intriguing, that it's a tie-in with heaven. What do you think about that? Because you know how like the scientists now, they can experiment and they can make something, it's drama, it's a little something, but they can, with sound vibrations, move a little tiny object. I think that it was possible to move other objects, and I think that that is obviously a tie-in of creation, is vibrations. You know, how that computes, don't ask me. But I'm just wondering if you think that there is any truth to that, like, you know, the ancient Egyptians or anybody using, maybe Atlantis, using vibrations to move things and or create things, and if you had any kind of a feeling on that ever about, you know, that kind of thing.
So I guess I never really thought about it until just now.
Okay. I'm always getting you with those questions.
I know that there's definitely like vibrations and higher, you know, the higher the level you go, the higher the vibration. And I think that's why, like, say, you know, people who are on a certain level can't go up.
Yeah. Yes.
But they can go down.
Yes.
That's why I think like people on the 7th level can go down and see us or whatever, but I couldn't go up to the 7th level or whatever.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So in that way, I think that is very intertwined with vibrations. But I never ever really thought about it of like using it in like how you put it.
Yeah,
I have to think about that. I think it's possible. I mean, nobody knows. So I think that makes more sense than some of the other things I've heard.
Right? That's so true. And then I lost it, of course, for the second time today. I was like going to ask a question specific to.
I almost lost it a couple minutes ago on one of the questions, but I saved it. I almost lost it.
Covered your butt because I didn't even notice anything. I was like, yeah, I'm like, what was I going to ask? It was something about the whole vibrations and creation. Oh, no. Nope. We'll pass. I'll get a Jeopardy pass on that one. We'll play it. I think that this testimony and like 5-minute testimony is really like it's cool. It's giving me food for thought to ask you and like things that you've thought about. It says right on the screen because I have it on closed captions. Maybe I should ask you now. They felt like their body was now like a giant sun, and they said earlier they sensed that on the higher levels the beings lived in stars. I actually did hear that last year on one of the testimonies that they said. It was ironic though. It was kind of a scary one. You know how I don't like to watch those, but it's okay. It was a scary one, and they said that they felt burning when they were approaching, and they said that the light being said, "Hey, look, watch," and took them into a star, but that they felt heat, more so burning than they've ever got hurt on the earth. So it is, I know a lot of people have different things to say, like that person that has a bad one and they're saying they were burning, but they also said they went into a star and felt like a giant sun, like this person, you know what I mean? So it's just very intriguing.
Well, and he said that it was so, how did he put it? It was so bright and like, I can't remember what he said, but it was almost like he couldn't take it anymore and he asked not to go up any higher, but God took him up higher. Like, so that sounds like it's almost so pleasurable, it's painful, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense. That's the other thing that sorry.
At no human form.
Let's just play it and I'll ask my question in a second. I guess we'll do the last minute.
Here was unspeakable. What goes on here is truly unbelievable for human beings. I stayed there for some time and was taken into the 6th heaven, which is 1,000,000 times brighter than the 5th. I will not speak about how bright God is here. The angels were singing so loud that no human ears could hear this music of the universe. My body was an even brighter sun merged into the central light of God. I was then taken into the 7th heaven, and what happens there is so far beyond my abilities. God brought me down. I only lasted 10 seconds in the 7th heaven. Whole galaxies could be created with the light there with total ease. Any beings that can go there are millions of years more evolved than I am.
Wow.
Think that in each of these higher heavens the light and glory of innocence, love, ecstasy, peace, power, beauty, grace and wisdom multiplies 1,000,000 times over the preceding heaven, makes it so difficult to pass through and live in.
Okay, so question about the feeling that people talk about not being uncomfortable with it, but just feeling an absolute wanting to burst out of their skin because they just can't contain it. Like when you were a kid and you're going to get that ice cream or whatnot, it just is something like that is so jubilant. Did you feel as if you just wanted to burst? You just were, you couldn't contain your experience of enjoyment or whatever?
I would say, yeah, but it was never a level like that high, but I only went to the 3rd level. So I could only imagine if it intensified each time, what that would be like.
Do you think there's more than 7 levels? And that's maybe what humans on this earth have only been privy to. You know what I'm saying?
I think so.
I think so too. I really do.
I've heard stories of other people who have seen other levels of higher ones. And
Oh yes. Remember you
I
told
don't
me about this.
know.
Tell me about the one. Remember you told me that there was a specific person who said they even, which I believe 100%, that they had levels of other dimensional creatures, like maybe a mermaids or something. Isn't that, you told me that, right?
Yeah, she said she saw like 90 some levels or something like that, but there were
Oh,
levels up in like the top in like the 80s or 90s, like way up in the high levels that were
like a
different
serial killer.
dimensions. And that's
Yeah.
everything you could think of, like mermaids and like
You guys
one
want to
was
talk? Yeah.
um yeah. So hers is the only one that I've heard like that though.
Yeah.
So is hers maybe different for a reason? I don't know. But
Yeah.
if, I mean, I'd like to think that people believe mine based off of what I say. So I'd like to believe other people's based off of what they say. So
Yeah. Yeah.
unless there's things that are red flags that make me question it,
Yes.
you know what I
And you
mean?
always get that feeling. Yes. 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 Yep.
So I was interested that he said, or he said, I keep saying he because it's a
I know,
male
and I don't
voice
know if
in
it's a
this,
problem when doing that.
but like, yeah, it's bad that I do that. But I was interested that they said that they were only on the level 7 or 6, whatever it was, for 10 seconds.
Yeah. Because of time, right?
Yeah, how would you know
Quantify
that?
it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How could you even
That did,
like I have
yeah,
no idea how long I was gone for. I
that did
wish
stick
I
out of my mind.
knew.
Yeah, that did stick out of my mind only because it is literally, I would say 99% of you guys that have an NDE talk about, oh no, I don't know. I couldn't be able to tell you how long I was because time didn't exist. You know what I'm saying? So that was something that piqued my interest. I'm like, huh, how are they quantifying that?
So
So
like maybe it's like mine where I was like, I was in the first level for, I would say, 20% of my near death experience. And then most of it was on level 2. And then the last portion was on level 3. So maybe if if that person is trying to quantify numbers, that's
yeah,
how they got that, is like,
that
you
completely
know what I
makes sense.
mean?
That makes sense. And you know what?
But
That's something we never talked about either, about the time period, as far as that is different than time, because that's like your experience is broken into different pieces, like a pie. So that's interesting. So you said level 3 was the one that was the most experienced or whatnot.
level 2 was,
Level 2 was okay. Okay,
yes.
interesting. Oh, I finally remembered what I had lost earlier about the table. So
Oh yeah.
I've told you before, but I really get obsessed with certain things that ring true to me. I just find it so intriguing that I had never heard about anything about tables with near-death experiences, or tables in the Bible, which I did find out after reading, and different things. And it has been my one thing that I kind of was like, "What, Dad? Are you showing me?" Like after he passed, it was like always him, like super the most jubilant, energy, and with this empty table with a set, with set dinette, and it's just so neat that you said that about the table and your family there, and then a lot of people will say that about, either if they hadn't had an NDE, they'll say that about their heaven, their religious, organization will talk about that, like that they have a table set out for you, like when you come, almost like a celebration, like hello, so I just find that to be intriguing, that that's kind of for me, how you get those little signs that tie in, like, oh, I'm not crazy, that is my dad channeling it to me, or whatever the case may be. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, and maybe because I saw my mom when she was alive in heaven. And
Yeah.
there's people that talk about how you can be in different time periods at one time. You have there's different people that say that you have your
Multidimensional, like,
higher, well,
at
and you
one
have your
time.
higher self and you
Yes.
have your human self, or however, they word it. Um,
Yes.
Maybe there's that kind of a dimensional thing with the second level and the home, to
Yeah.
where at all times everybody is at this home, like a sliver of them. So
Yeah.
when somebody passes, they're there to greet them. And it's not that they're not there, but they're there. You know what I mean?
Totally, totally, totally. And I think that that makes sense of what that is love, right? To be able to not just comfort you, but comfort you and Jessica, you know, at the same time. You know what I mean? So multidimensional, to be able to be all for, you know, multiple things. That makes sense to me as far as what a universal creator would think of. So that is
Well,
very intriguing.
and that made me think the way that you said that with, me and Jessica at the same time or whatever.
Yeah.
I've had people question, asking, when you have a loved one pass, um, do they, if they're sending you signs or if they're visiting you, do they visit everybody all at once or
Yeah.
do they take turns? And I really think that they can be in multiple places at multiple times.
Oh, yes, I do. I do. Did you?
Because I can get a sign and somebody else can get a sign. And I think it's still, they're both valid and they're both
Yeah.
mom.
110%. What
But
about, this proves your point? What about the people who have shared death experiences? Let's say two siblings, they don't even know that their brother is passed away, but they both have in two different places. They both have at the same time the brother show up and say, "I have to go, sis. I'm going home." That kind of gave me the chills. That proves that, in a sense, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because a facet of his soul or whatnot was able to come to two different locations on Earth at the same time. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I'd like to believe, like, when my mom did pass, she passed overnight. So she was gone by the time we even woke up in the morning. We just didn't know it. But
Yeah.
when I got the call saying that my sister found her, um, and that the ambulance was there working on her, and I had to get there as quick as possible, I remembered, I picked up my husband, well, my husband at the time, and
Mm.
he drove me out there and he drove as fast as he could. And the whole way out there, I was, contacting my dad and, posting prayers on Facebook and,
For sure.
letting some people know and doing all that stuff. But the whole time I was doing it, I had this feeling. I mean, I knew we had to get there quick. And I kept calling my sister because I kind of know hospital stuff and I knew she would be
Yeah.
transported and I knew things would be happening. So I was wondering why nobody was telling me, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just knew she was gone.
You
Um,
definitely had a knowing. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
uh,
So I think she was with me
mm,
in that ride while she was with my sister at the house.
for sure. Did you think about right after that and that traumatic experience right then? Did you think about, and did it help you at all? Did you think about the NDE and what had happened? Obviously, her meeting you before she had passed. And is that what you were kind of wrapping your head around? Like, is this become a prophecy that is real life? Is that, were you thinking about that at all at that
Oh
point?
yeah. It
I
was, I
thought so.
mean,
I would,
I think that's the first thing I said to my husband. Well, like I said, husband at the time, was,
if, disclosure,
oh
if,
my
if either
gosh, this is,
if either of us say husband, it's just because we were there for a long time with them. We could
yeah.
be or we could not be. This is a disclosure. Seriously, I say that all the time. So yeah, personal business is personal biz. But yeah, no, I got you. So go on. I'm so intrigued about that. And did it? I guess I may have talked over you. Did it? Did it? Did it? Not that you're going to be comforted. Trust me. In that moment of that trauma, but did it? Perhaps like intrigue you as if like, okay, if this really is happening, then I have something of realness just to me that will comfort. Do you know what I mean? Or were you just imagine, your imagination was running wild because you were just pondering like, oh my God, is this really happening? You know?
So I think after my near death experience, I questioned it because I didn't understand why Bear was in it and I didn't understand why my mom was in it. And I
Yeah.
was new to all of the near death experience stuff. I hadn't joined any groups or really, I mean, I was interested in that kind of stuff, but I hadn't really dabbled in anything.
Yeah.
So
Exploded.
at first, I questioned myself and I thought, okay, well, maybe it's just a weird dream. Like, did I really
My sanity.
die?
You know, a lot of people do.
Am I crazy? And then when that happened, I mean, I pretty much after, I can't remember if it was right away or if it was driving and we were wondering what was going to happen. But I mean, I pretty much had the conversation with my husband at the time, like, this is just too crazy.
Right?
This is just, it sealed the deal for me.
That would
And
seal the deal for me too. I mean,
I think that's when I started sharing it. I don't think I shared it before my mom passed. I think I had to have that
confirmation.
Clarity.
Yeah. Okay.
And then that's when I started actually posting my experience and actually seeking out, not seeking out, but having others listen to me and actually, you know,
it was a miracle for me and a miracle for other people, dude, because how much of a proof is that? That's proof in the pudding, because they see someone who is sharing not only a testimony, but how it solidified and related to them in the worst, you know, experience, one of the worst sadnesses that humans go through, grief of a, you know, a loved one that is like your best friend, everything. So I think that by you doing that, it's just, I mean, it just is so solid as far as, especially too, because I totally know that all dogs go to heaven, quote unquote. I just think that also for you, I just know that you're just such like that true blue soul. You communicate with animals. I mean, literally you have the healing skills. I wanted to tell you that about animals. I think they will live longer in your care. I was going to tell you that. So that too was like a different, like that's like a second confirmation. Oh, did someone say something on there? Hold on. I cannot read anything. Someone talked to us. They said, who is on the left? I don't see anything. Oh, they can't see me.
No, you've been blank the whole time.
Have I really?
Yeah. I thought you did it on purpose.
Are you freaking serious?
Yeah, it's just a blank.
Oh my gosh, dude, no.
I thought you did it on purpose. I almost shut off my camera.
So there, look, what do you see right now? What do you see right now?
Well, now I can see it says Shani and it shows your
avatar
profile picture. Yeah.
Okay, so look, when I push on the cam, you literally cannot see me in my room, my beanie?
No, it's completely black.
That is so strange. That is the weirdest thing this whole time. And guess what?
Here, I'll take a screenshot.
Oh yeah, let me take a screenshot. Watch this. I want you to know something that I'll admit little things. It's not my ego, but I do like hats. I have a weird fetish with hats my whole life. And so I left this beanie on and I'm sweating, but I thought it was cute. And I was like, I'm going to leave this beanie on the life. And so now you're telling me there's been absolutely no reason why I fried for 45 minutes. Watch this. Watch.
Nope.
Okay, watch it. See? And send a screenshot. I am sorry if you're still there, Cancer. That is Shani, that's me. And I guess I've not been in the screen. Babe, I'm so sorry. That is so, like, really? Can I just go through one thing without being a goof? Okay, there, that's me.
But I totally thought that you meant to do that.
No, it's okay, girl. Dude. You know what? That could have happened. I mean, there's any given Sunday with me. You never know, but it's like, you know what? No, that is just funny. I hope you enjoy the beanie story, because that's straight up like, yeah, the truth. That is so funny. So I sent you a screenshot. In any case, I guess that would be an ideal time. We've been on for almost 50 minutes. I guess I'll let you go so I can take off my freaking sweaty beanie. That is too funny. So earlier though today, you saw me because it filmed. I mean, it showed me on the thing. So
yeah, earlier today it worked just fine. I don't know why.
That is just so weird. Yeah, and watch this. I'm just gonna do it again. Just turn off the camera. Turn on. Poof. Nope. Nope. All right, girl. Sorry, but you were talking to a shadow person. That's kind of funny. But like, I totally want you to know this is like food for my soul. This is like what do they call that? Ambrosia, like the elixir for spirits. It's like so good. It goes by so quick when I talk to you. I'm gonna get since no one can see, I'll take my beanie cap off with my sweat. The vape is. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, girl, I will let you go and I will text you because there's a lot I wanted to just chat with you offline about a couple of subjects. Like, I'll write some things down and I'll chat with you. I'll text you later or something like that, or tomorrow.
Okay.
I can't.
Sounds good.
I'll talk to you later, sweet love. Okay. Bye.